session now, so you'll probably all get a little warning come up, and away we go. So I think with no further delay, let's hand over to Phil to open the session and say a few words for us.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming along. Good morning to those as well that I've not managed to meet yet. I know we've got some new faces from my side of things on the chamber. Really, all I want to say was just a thank you for joining. Thank you for coming along. I hope you find the session enjoyable. And from my side, I'll pass you on to Jonathan Quinn, who is the chair of our Energy and Environmental Forum. Over to you, Jonathan.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks very much, Phil. Probably first of all, big thanks to Phil, because he's always working really hard setting up the Energy and Environment Forum and the Manufacturing Engineering Forum. So thanks again, Phil, for all your hard work. Yeah, first of all, next, so I'd like to thank everyone for joining this morning. I know times are challenging. We've faced quite a lot of that in our own business and across the chamber. I mentioned earlier before we started, if anybody does need any help or any access to funding, there's a new fund coming out from Wirral Council on Monday. So for anyone who didn't get the rate relief grant, there is a new pot of money landing on Monday. So the chamber will send out something Monday as soon as we know the details. Hope everyone is well and safe. I'm pretty sure you'll find this event very useful and very informative. We have a great offer from Liverpool John Moores University and the Clean Growth team. So thanks very much for that for today. And then if you haven't already, I'd recommend signing up to the Clean Growth UK. It's free to access. It was on the email I come across for today's webinar. So jump on that. It's a one-stop shop to help develop, fund, test and commercialise clean and green products and services. Support from industry experts, which you'll hear more from in a minute, and connect and collaborate with other fellow innovators. So pretty much over to Ian now. Thanks very much.
Okay, so thanks everyone. Right, let's get started. We've got quite a lot of people in the room today, so we're up to 29 who've joined in today, so that's great. So a little bit of meeting protocol now, just to start with. So to try and cut down the background noise, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mute, because I've got ultimate power having set this up. I'm going to mute you all, okay? And mute, that's it. So you're all muted now. Now that doesn't stop you asking questions. So all I'm sort of saying is, if you want to ask a question, you can stop me at any time. Just remember to unmute your microphone or raise your hand or whatever, and then I'll stop and we can do a bit of question and answer at any point. Okay. But I'll always tend to mute you again afterwards, so that it cuts down the background noise, as we've got so many here. I suppose the other thing to mention for the newcomers is we're recording this session, so that'll become available as video stream, so that you'll be able to relook at it at any point, or send it to a colleague or whatever. I think the final thing just to mention is, feel free to use the chat room. So there's the meeting chat, which some of you have already found. Put any questions in there that you might want to raise behind the scenes, as it were. That will get recorded, and I'll either answer it in the session, or we'll come back to you offline and answer anything there. Okay, so without any further ado, I'm going to share my presentation with you all. So bear with me whilst I get the technology to work, and away we go. So if I do this now, there we go. All right, so this is where we're at. This is what we're doing for the next hour, and there's a lot of us in the session, and so I'm going to fly through the pictures, as it were, and try and, you know, elaborate on the pictures rather than reading out every word that might be on there. Okay, and as I say, you can rerun the recording afterwards if you want to get into a bit more detail. So thanks to Wirral Chamber of Commerce for putting this on for us, and let's crack on and say, well, what on earth is all this about? Okay, what is this Clean Growth UK program that we're being put on here. And what it is in summary, it's a national scheme, which is all about clean growth, productivity, energy efficiency, clean growth for businesses in a low carbon economy, with the background of that. Okay, and everything that we talk about are all the normal sort of process and techie things, but very much always linked to a low carbon economy. That's what it's all about. It's a national program run out of 3 major hubs, university hubs. So we've got Brighton down on the south coast, we've got Portsmouth down on the south coast, and we've got Liverpool John Moores up here in the northwest. And the bottom line is there's a whole range of support and technology and intellectual property available in the universities through their different schemes, that once we get into a little bit of detail and understanding what the needs are of each individual business, then there's a whole plethora of support, whether that be technical, engineering, or commercial support, to try and move the business on. That's the goal. And so up here in the north, there's a whole collaboration of Liverpool John Moores and Lancaster University and so forth, together with the Chambers of Commerce, and that's part of the regional spread of the Clean Growth UK programme. So, who are we? Who am I? My name's Ian Troe, and Quad Plus is my day job, if you like, and Quad Plus are systems integrators or consultant engineers in the industrial sector. And so we've been doing things like Industry 4.0 and data analytics and all that techie stuff for 35 years, something like that. And mixed in with what we do is all about analysing the business and so forth. And so we are a service provider to the Clean Growth UK programme, and that's our relationship. And that's why I'm sitting here talking to you today. Now, Quad Plus, just to sort of add a little bit of extra there, is a US-based systems integrator. We're a global organisation. We're probably about 120 million business, something like that. And I look after the UK, Ireland and Northwest Europe. And my background is engineering. I've worked for giants such as DuPont and Siemens in the past. And my passion over the last 10 years or so has been to try and bring some of that best practice and support from an industry perspective to the SME world, which is at the end of the day the bedrock of our economy, and will be the bedrock of our economy going forward, perhaps even more so going forward. So that's why I'm involved in all of this. And the pretty picture I've shown you there is our factory in Turkey. We've got about 6 factories around the world, but that's our factory in Turkey. Okay, so enough of that. Let's start at the beginning. What is innovation? This whole program is about clean growth innovation. And this pretty slide sort of says, well, them who invest in innovation grow more. That's basically what it says. And the message to all of the people, all of the businesses who have taken the time to join us this morning is that by taking the time to join us, you are investing in innovation. And what we want to be able to do in the Clean Growth UK programme is help you on a journey. And our offer is very differentiated. We're not just doing webinars. We're not just doing some training. As with the rest of the world, you know, the whole world has gone online. We're not just doing that. Our focus is to find out what floats your boat, what you need as a business, whether you be a 10 million manufacturing business, or whether maybe you're a retail outlet, I don't know, a florist in terms of a micro SME. Whatever your business scope, there are things that can be applied and tips and tricks that we can offer you as a business to try and move you forward. And once our role in this is to try and explore these ideas with you in this program, and then bring in the strength and the depth of Liverpool John Moores University and other partners to help you on that journey. So that's our goal. That's what's different about all of this program here. So if we start with some big questions, you know, what is innovation? And at the top there, you know, we got a nice, very top level message from Marks and Spencer, which is all about, well, whatever it is you do in innovation, it can not only change the productivity of your business and your bottom line, but it can also help tackle the environmental challenges and the social challenges we have. And perhaps in today's world that we're all coming to terms with, and whatever the new normal will be once we get restarted, perhaps there will be even a greater emphasis on the environmental side and the social side than there has been before. So what is innovation? Now, normally we do these sessions in workshops, and at this point I would normally go around the room and sort of try and get some workshop collaboration going. But you know, just think for yourself, what is innovation? Now, I used to work for Siemens, and so if you ask a German, what is innovation? He'll say, it's R&D, it's technique, it's research and development. Yes, but it's also a lot more than that. And what I've just tried to do there is sort of say, well, it's basically doing something better tomorrow than what you did today. And that could be a process improvement, it could be an energy saving improvement, or it could be a technical improvement, either in the process of your business, or it could be the development of a new product, which is geared around being more environmentally friendly or whatever. So it's all the normal productivity things, but with a very clear link to the environment and a low carbon economy. And this is where we come in now with our clean growth innovation. What is it about what we're trying to put forward on the table here? What is different about it? And so what we do is we've structured a tailored approach for the businesses. And we start by exploring some technical, strategic themes with the businesses in the room. And bearing in mind that we run cohorts every month around the country, and usually there's 20 businesses per cohort, or 10 to 20 businesses per cohort. And what we find, of course, is the mix of the businesses are different each time. And so we very much spend the first phase of the interaction sort of teasing out what the business types are and what is appropriate for them, and then just trying to open our eyes to opportunities, if you like, for what might be appropriate for those businesses. And then what we do is then we deep dive into what we've learned with those businesses, and we try and bring some best practice, and we try and do things in bite-sized chunks so that every single attendee, so if I talk to the businesses that have tuned in today, our goal is that you will go away with something that floats your boat and makes a difference to your business going forward. And our goal is to give that as a bite-sized chunk, a clear takeaway, and give you a roadmap to enable you to go and do it. That's what's different about this. And I'm going to bring on that bottom line now, which is the goal in all of this. We want every business to go and do something. So what does that mean? Well, what it means is that here's one of the whiteboards that we normally do when we're able to physically get together. And what you can see is normally we have 2 days of workshop. The first day we explore lots and lots and lots and lots of different topics and themes in that first day. And what we work out then is the attendees in the room might be interested in some of those themes. I mean, I mean, how, you know, anything about productivity or anything about environmental or strategy or whatever process, you know, you could spend weeks in a room with me and get bored to death. And but how much of it is appropriate for your business, whether you be a manufacturing business or whether you be a retail business or a micro SME or a startup? We got to get to a point where with delivering something, some knowledge, some intellectual property that is useful to you. So that's what we do. We spend the first day's workshop, if you like, exploring stuff. And then we hone the agenda for the next day's workshop into a subset. And we deep dive those technical themes, if you like. And the goal is for each and every business, if they want to go away and take whatever it is that is particularly motivated and is particularly focused on their business opportunity, if you like, and go away and create something called a BIP, which is a business impact project. And one of the things that we're pretty good at in terms of coming from the commercial arena is that we're project managers in everything that we do in the industrial sector. We're project managers. And so we will try and help create a project plan, a roadmap, a technology sharing, a knowledge transfer, tips and tricks on a particular theme that is tuned to a particular business. And then we try and go away and we help you execute that project. That's our goal out of that, and that's what's differentiated about this program. So what I've just shown you there is how it normally happens, or how it happened up to about 3 months ago. So what have we done to go online here? Well, what we've done is we've gone online. We're working virtually here, and so phase 1, which used to be day 1, with all of these themes here, we will run 2 3-hour sessions in this kind of format. Okay, and then what happens then in the cohort of attendees, we'll pick some of those and we'll tune those for the agenda points for the next phase of deeper dive. And that deep dive will then take place over 4 1.5-hour sessions, so that people can tune in, tune out, depending on what really floats their boat, if you like, with the goal that then some of those businesses will say, I like that, I like what I've learned there, I've been given enough knowledge, I can make a difference now. And then what we try and do is we go away and we create a business impact project with you, specifically one-on-one in the business. And typically when we set up this program, we sort of said to ourselves, if we got 10 businesses on a cohort, if you like, we would want to get 2 or 3 BIPs coming out the end of it, if you like. That was our sort of hit rate or conversion rate, if you like. And so what's interesting is that out of the programs that we've been doing for the last 18 months, we've actually got about a 50% conversion rate. And what's really interesting is that the last session we did, we actually got up into the 70-80% conversion rate. So 7 out of 10 attendees who came and invested time actually got some value out of it and are running projects to make a difference to their business. Okay, so that's the structure of the program. So let me whiz on a little bit. If anyone wants to ask me a question, feel free. Just to remember to unmute. Okay, so throughout the program, we come to some core themes, and we talk about energy, automation, and the process. And what we find when I talk about energy, I'm talking about the resources that you're using as a business. And so if I was thinking about my florist example, that would be electricity primarily coming into the retail unit that the florist works in. Automation, if I think about automation, it could be everything from automating a process, or it could be physical automation like a robot or whatever. But if I go back to the florist, for example, automation in this instance was actually putting some Internet of Things type sensors in her fridge, which she keeps the chiller to keep the flowers of a high quality and make them last longer, and understanding how she could perhaps save some energy on the chilling costs by monitoring the environment, if you like, of the flowers, for example. And then underneath all of that, you've got a process. You know, the process is flowers get delivered by the big lorry from Holland once a week, and then she's got she makes up bundles of flowers and sells them and all the rest. And there's a process in that business, and so that's a one-man band florist that found core, shall we say, empathy with the key themes. And what we find is that there's no magic bullet. All of these things are linked together. That's what we find with all of this. So core themes there. What we also do in all of this, we introduce the concept of of process life cycles and plant life cycles. And so we talk about this life cycle. If you've got a piece of plant, so for example, a compressor sitting in the side of a manufacturing plant, for example, could last 20 years, that compressor. So round here, this big circle again, is 20 years. And what we sort of say, or what we try and introduce, is the fact that you might buy a compressor when it's new and get it running and so forth. But actually the bulk of the costs, the bulk of running that compressor is the electricity that drives it, plus any leakages that exist in the airlines and so forth. And so we try and bring the focus on, well, what do you have to do mid-life of that piece of capital plant to improve its productivity, increase its energy saving? What retrofits can you do? What extra processes can you put in place to actually drive down your life cycle costs of that piece of plant? So we bring some of these themes into play. And so just adding a little bit more detail in terms of these circles. So you see a lot of circles are on this, but it's all based around the same idea, is that if I just break this down a little bit in terms of upstream energy, what do I mean by that? Well, it could be everything from putting solar panels on commercial scale roofs or whatever. It could be standby generators for business continuity. If I think about storage, it could be large-scale battery storage for peak shaving or whatever, or different storage mediums coming over the horizon, such as hydrogen storage or hydrogen fuel cells. We talk about smart grid technology. How does your shop or your business or your operations connect to the grid? And what is the relationship between you taking power and the district network operators or the utility suppliers and what they want to charge you for that power? And so we talk about things like voltage optimization, or maybe power factor correction, or whatever. And then we start to get into, you need to measure stuff. You need to know what your demand profiles are for your business, small or large, because unless you've got some data, you don't know what you're actually using in terms of resources. So we talk about, as a theme, natural energy intelligently used wherever possible. And so we explore some of these themes. Cracking on, what do we mean by automation? Well, we come from the world of big systems and technology and HMIs and SCADA systems in big factories and stuff, and clever stuff like that. And we come from process industries and paper mills and all of that kind of stuff. But all of that is scalable to every walk of life. And so we could scale that to machine cells. It could be a CNC machine cell, or it could be a robot or some automation that's been put in there. And what we also try and explore then is how business models might change with the regards of operational services and the effects and the disruptive innovation that comes out of Industry 4.0, in other words, the fourth industrial revolution, and the whole digitization of whatever it is we do with the industrial Internet of Things. So we explore some of this stuff and try and make it livable, if you like, in terms of all walks of life. And then finally, what we do is we try and put that together in terms of understanding, well, how does that fit with the business process? So it could, for example, mean, what is your supply chains coming into your factory or operations or whatever? It could mean understanding your processes and understanding what it is you do. But always, 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 we will keep it in perspective. We're not here to try and run an MBA course on operational excellence or anything like that. We're not in that. What we're sort of saying is we want to do and want to explore what is appropriate for your kind of business, whether that be a hairdresser, whether it be a florist, or whether it be a manufacturing site. It doesn't matter. Everything is scalable. And ultimately, what we're just trying to get onto the table here is that for UK PLC for 2025 to 2050, if you like, in terms of the vision for the UK GDP. It's all about how do we bring digital transformation into everything that we do at the same time as being sustainable in what we do in terms of carbon zero goals and all the rest of it. So the two things mesh together is what we're trying to say here. So just to really try and throw that point down, this stuff really is scalable. Processes and perspective are the same for all walks of life and all sizes of business. But if you like, you can have big solar panel arrays and you can have small solar panels arrays. But sometimes what you need to do is just do a little bit of number crunching with us to be able to ask the right questions. And then further down, we can sort of get some data and data monitoring systems, and we give advice on what is out there on the marketplace and what measures you might be able to take around sort of enabling some savings in your premises and so forth, whether it be voltage optimization or power factor correction at the bottom. And then at the back end of it, you know, everything is scalable in terms of compressors or air handling units or chiller units. If you take this example, this is just an extraction fan. I'll come back to this in a moment. You know, many of us will have extraction systems or pumping systems. And so there's huge opportunity under the surface there for energy optimization and productivity optimization. And you can scale that to small machine cells or, you know, micro SMEs, and then you can extend that into the supply chain or electric cars, electric vehicles, and then you touch on the whole circular economy type aspect of recycling and zero waste and zero carbon and stuff. So these are the themes that we start to try and take the businesses through and find out which of the themes float the boat of the people in the room and which are most appropriate to take away and actually try and do something with. So as an example, if we look at the upstream stuff, you know, in that first day we will explore, you know, the plethora of renewable energy, if you like. And this isn't from a perspective of an installer. We don't install this stuff. We're not trying to sell anything to anyone. What we're trying to be is honest brokers from a, let's call it, consulting engineering point of view. That sort of says, look, for your scenario, it might be appropriate to have a biomass system, but let's get some data on the table and let's do some numbers so that you can go away as a business and perhaps be more informed when you start discussing with various installers or technology companies that are looking to sell you something. So that's part of the goal there, and that can either be biomass, or it could be wind turbines, or it could be storage facilities. Okay, so that's what we try and talk about. You know, we always talk about leaky buckets. You know, get rid of the leaks, get rid of the waste, get rid of the excess costs before delivery for any business type. And so what are leaks? Well, we typically think about leaky buckets when we talk about water leaching out of pipelines or gas or fluids or whatever. But you can actually apply this analogy to electricity. And so what you have is a situation where you can create losses unknowingly or unwittingly and incur costs and charges from the utility suppliers by not using the electricity that you use intelligently. And so we explore a little bit of this with you and sort of come up with some ideas of what you might like to take away and check, whether you're a small business or a large manufacturing business. So we do a little bit of that kind of stuff. We also then start to sort of say, well, okay, it's all good stuff about the grid connection, and we're talking about a lot of big project ideas and technologies, but actually look around your business as it stands today. And if I take a small manufacturing example, you know, most manufacturers will have a compressor, air compressor. Anyone with the large space to heat will have a gas boiler, and that's a commercial gas boiler. Most people who are moving things, whether that be air or whether it be fluids or whether it even be sort of logistics and moving material handling, if you like, in a plant. We'll have induction motors, and then you've got the control of the induction motors. And so we sort of say, well, what have you thought about all of this? And quite often businesses will sort of say, well, all of that kind of stuff runs and it's been running for 20 years. Yeah, okay. And this is where we come back to the life cycle of costs aspect. And we sort of say, well, did you know that over the last 20 years, there's been huge increases in efficiency of induction motors? And did you know that induction motors actually account for 65% of all the electricity consumed in Europe, just as an example? So if we're thinking with a low carbon hat on, and also thinking with a, how do I reduce my electricity costs and how do I protect against increasing electricity costs going forward, then actually it's useful to have a little bit of technical insight in terms of what's been going on with these induction motors. So an induction motor will sit in the corner, either, you know, take an extraction fan, for example, sit in the corner for 20 years and never be touched. Well, over the past 20 years, if we just take an example, 2.5 here, you know, when it was originally installed, it was what, 77% efficient. Well, if you do a form, fit and function replacement of that induction motor today, it actually is 90% efficient. So what we do then is, depending on the situation, we'll do some number crunching with you, and we'll do a couple of models, and lo and behold, you suddenly find that there are opportunities to go around your plant, and bearing in mind, many manufacturers will have hundreds of these sitting around doing stuff, and you go around your plant and you do an audit, and you suddenly find that you can actually get a payback by doing a form, fit and function replacement in less than a year on some of these technologies, depending on how they're being used and so forth. And so we raise that bit of technical insight to your awareness during the course of the sessions. Okay, next one, there's a bit more techie here. Okay, if you've got a pump or a fan, quite often you have some fans extracting airborne contaminants, if you like, from your business. So that could be, I don't know, if you were a wood manufacturer, if you were doing I don't know, routing on I don't know, kitchen units or whatever, and so you've got to have some extraction to get rid of the sawdust in the air. And quite often what happens is that the original installer will size it to the maximum need and then add a bit more, and quite often it'll be a bang bang type system. In other words, you turn it on when the machine turns on and it runs at full chat. Worst case scenario, even if you're not doing much on the actual router itself. Did you know, and that's what this graph, and we'll explore this more, is that if you can turn down the speed of that fan by 10%, which isn't all that much, you get a 25% reduction in your power consumption for that fan. And if you were able to turn that speed down by 20%, you actually get a 45% reduction in the energy that you're using, the electricity that you're buying. And that's not even taking into account when Fred, who's run the night shift and he's done his last piece of routing and goes home because it's late and then leaves it on overnight. Doesn't even take that kind of wastage into account. So what we explore is there's lots of opportunities in everyday settings in all types of businesses to make optimizations, okay, both from a productivity point of view but a low carbon point of view. Okay, so a little bit of a deep dive example there. And what we try and do, wherever possible, we try and make the sessions interactive. So when we sit in a room together with 10 to 15 people, we have lots and lots of breakouts and lots of team working together. Well, it gets a bit more tricky to do that when you're doing it online, but we do that. So if you were to sign up for the next sessions, part of what we try and do in the sessions is we'll have little breakout sessions where we try and think about, well, what kind of situation or tactics might be needed for your particular business. Okay, so we try and make all of this stuff as interactive as we can. Right, then we get on to digitization, and we talk about what on earth is industry 4th generation and all of that kind of science between a traditional production fixed value line and the idea of more added value that is enabled by digital transformation. And we don't try and sort of get it, as I say, we're not trying to do an MBA course in here. What we're trying to do is just give some insight into what on earth all of this stuff means and how you might be able to apply it to your business, whether you're a florist or whether you're a small manufacturing plant. And we bring into the game the whole life cycle services and life cycle costs aspect. So we just try and bring a bit of best practice into play here. And then at the end of the day, this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to take what we know and trying to explain what does digital transformation mean and how can it be applied to you to become more sustainable and more robust and more environmentally focused, if you like, and everything fits together here. Okay, so what does all that mean? Well, the basis of digitization is find out the data, analyze the data, and then do something better. That's what it's all about. And is it innovation or is it continuous improvement? Well, it's both. It's the same thing. And what we try and do is we try and then bring onto the table what are the latest generation of Internet of Things and how does all of this clever low-cost tech enable you as businesses to go down this journey of digitization and change and improvement and in productivity and low carbon. And we bring some tips and tricks onto the table. And for example, manufacturing, we talk about how could you retrofit some kit. This is an injection mold machine which needed to increase throughput, if you like. So there's a little case study there which we go through with manufacturers. But we also try and give you the tools to go away and do something. So we give some advice about, well, what kit is out there and what sensors are out there. So if you wanted to, if you had an apprentice in the machine shop, for example, you could give an apprentice a project with some kit, with some hints from us as a business impact project, and go away and do something, make a difference. That's our goal in all of this. And so this is where we come back to this whole sort of Deming type cycle, which is the plan, do, check, act, and it's continuous improvement linked to sustainability, linked to the environment. And we then bring into some strategy into the discussion. So we've talked quite a lot about operations, and we've talked quite a lot about some techie stuff and some engineering stuff and some best practice and some opportunity for operations and stuff like that. But some businesses actually want to step back from that and sort of say, well, actually, yes, we want to do all of that, but what about our leadership? What about our culture? What about our goals, if you like? And so we talk a little bit about, and we introduce, well, what are the sustainable goals, if you like, from United Nations sustainable goals, and what do they mean and how do they relate to what we've been discussing? How do they relate to a circular economy? And we also discuss, well, what is a climate emergency? And we're all driven over the last few years, really about what is happening to the planet, and especially the next generation. My kids certainly are passionate about what is happening in terms of sustainability, both from a a business sustainability point of view, but also an environmental sustainability. So we talk a bit about what is climate emergency, and we go through some case studies with businesses that have done stuff on this. So this is oh gosh, I forgot the name of it. Bear with me. Oh, I've forgotten the name. Normally the video plays here, but Ecotricity, I think it is. And this is Dale Vince, who's the CEO. And why I've put him up there is that, yes, he's in that sustainable business and electricity production, but he set, from a leadership point of view, a goal for his business to become carbon neutral in 18 months. And that's quite a case study to be able to do that. And he's very close to achieving it, actually. So there's nice some case studies for larger businesses and also small businesses that we try to bring to the table. So what we then sort of say, okay, we've done some big stuff like circular economy and sustainable development and climate emergency. But what about a lower level? What is the environmental systems within businesses, and what is the environmental? And typically, if we have an environmental management system in a business, small, medium, even large, quite often they tend to be tick boxes and sort of mechanisms to enable justification for tendering and so forth. So we try and get under the surface of that a little bit, and we try and understand, well, what is the environment from a business perspective, and we try and understand what is the relationship with BSI and all of that kind of stuff. But then we actually sort of pose some interesting questions, and there's a lovely quote from this chap who's much cleverer, or was much cleverer than me, and he had a term of, well, what is the environment? So this is one of these workshop sessions that we have. What is the environment? So just think for a second, well, what is it? And actually he's got a very good answer, and it's everything but me. And so we try and come at it from that point of view, in terms of trying to bring these things alive and making them value add, and linking productivity with environment, with continuous improvement, with best practice sharing around optimizations. And so we bring all of this to the table. That's our goal in all of this. And we also sort of bring some perhaps more sort of society things into play. So one of the things that we've got involved in is the whole thing about repair and creating products, next generation products, to be repairable. So get away from this linear economy of use resources, make something, create a load of waste, sell something, throw it away type linear economy, to actually getting back to upcycle, make stuff environmentally friendly ways, be able to repair those products, create new business models that encompasses all of that. And so there's lots of different ways of bringing awareness of, well, what does that mean? And so we've got some case studies around repair cafes and the whole concept of taking something and being able to upcycle it effectively. So there's some stuff around that which should be applicable to micro businesses and larger businesses as well. Okay, so pretty broad spectrum of topics that we try and cover in all of this. Then what we've got to do is we've got to sort of funnel, we've got to converge all of these ideas that we bring onto the table in the two sessions or the two phases of our work with you. And we've got to bring it together, and we've got to say, well, how do you take that forward into a business impact project? And what we do is we work with you, the business, individually to create a diagnostic, to take an idea and do something. And so we use the innovation canvas from KTP, and basically it's something like this, where we think, after we've sort of learnt about your business, whether it be a micro SME or whether it be a larger business, doesn't matter, and the sector doesn't matter, we ask a series of questions with you. We work with you about some of the ideas we've thrown up onto the table, and we try and work out, well, what might be appropriate for you, and then we try and score the opportunity, if you like, and we score what extra support you might need to go away and actually develop that as a project and go and do something. And just to give you an example, here's one I did earlier. And so this was an innovation canvas work that we did with a winery down on the south coast, and they had a couple of things that they were particularly focused on. So for frost protection for their vineyard, so for their vines, effectively. They wanted to come up with some intellectual property, a new product, if you like, for there. But they also wanted power optimization and process analytics for their bottling lines. So we worked with them to understand their business, and we worked with them in terms of, well, what did they need to do? And then we scored everything with them, and we worked out and we prioritized that. And then we worked out, well, how do we bring the universities and the extra resources to play to help them go and take this away for a project? And also in terms of, there's a commercialization aspect, because they needed some grant support and match funding support and stuff like that. So we try and put that together into a methodology, if you like, to frame the ideas, to then drive what I would call a project in bite-sized chunks, using some disruptive innovation, and actually achieve some let's call it productivity, either that will be either a cost saving, or it could be an increase in installed capacity so they can grow, but in a green way, so a low carbon way. So you have the potential to grow in a low carbon way. That's our goal in all of this, all of this pitch to you. And so we come out of it with a project. That's the idea. So then the question is, once we've created that innovation canvas, that business impact project, how do we bring the universities into play, if you like? So now we've got a framework which is very well documented and is clear and can be justifiable, if you like. And so then we can sort of bring, for example, if it was energy efficiency, we can bring the support from Liverpool John Moores around the low carbon innovatory type process they have. Or if it was a digitization solution that needed, we can bring Liverpool John Moores in terms of their digital adoption team to help in terms of making the project live. And there's lots and lots of resources that the universities have got available for innovation. So this is in terms of circular economy, in terms of waste, in terms of moving from a linear economy to a circular economy. There's, infrastructure and test kits, and here houses manufactured, for example, around insulation development, if you like, for the building sector, that is available in the faculties to play their part in the businesses, in the Clean Growth UK forums, if you like. And quite a lot's been achieved. We can do collaborative projects. There's products being innovated. There's processes being innovated. So that's our goal out of all of this. So just to summarize that a little bit, you have basically 3 phases. The first phase is we throw a load of ideas up in the air and we try and explore what is possible, what might be possible using our best practice and our history. Then what we do is we take what is appropriate for the businesses in the room, for that cohort, and say, let's focus on your particular business. And we then have a deep dive session where we explore some of this stuff, but at a much deeper level, with the goal that you go away armed with a whole lot more knowledge than you did when you came onto the program, And you can go away and actually engage with suppliers, engage with customers, engage with your teams and do stuff yourselves. Or if you want, you can create a business impact project with us, with the university, and we'll do it together, and we'll try and bring the resources of the universities to play to support you. And those resources are not only technical, engineering, research, but there are also commercial opportunities as well in terms of grant funding and match funding opportunities. And we wrap all of that up in this program. So first phase is this, which is the strategic stuff. The second phase is deep dive. The third phase, if you want to do it, is one-on-one engagement with us to do a business impact project. And at this point here, we bring you on to a platform that allows us to collaborate technically, data-wise, and personally. And that's why we've chosen Microsoft Teams for the presentation today, because Microsoft Teams, as opposed to maybe Zoom, is very tailored towards running projects, and we're project managers. So that's why we use this platform. And this collaboration platform, I'll just outline a little bit here. So if you were to come onto the program and do a BIP with us, you would come in as a cohort, okay? And you would be with your fellow members. Not only in the good old days, we would be having physical workshops. We can't do that at the moment, so we're online, but we're collaborating online as a cohort. And so we have this platform where we share data and can run video conferencing like this, but we also have other tools available to us. So for example, there's a discussion forum. So in this cohort here, under posts, there's one of the businesses that's in this cohort, Thomas. He wanted to move forward on voltage optimization, which was one of the themes that we discussed in our virtual workshops. And so he posted something. Then it got moderated in terms of, I actually did this one, moderated in terms of, well, this is what you need to supply us in terms of data to allow us to try and answer some of your questions here. And this discussion goes on and builds and builds and builds. And what it does then is that it then allows us to share resources with Thomas and all the other cohort members. So whether it be the video streams from the different sessions we do, or whether it be data from all the presentations we do, or the data we offer, or under the business impact projects, the raw data within that business and ourselves and Liverpool John Moores, all collaborating together on a platform that you have access to. Okay, so what we've created is a expert community that shares data, gives technical advice, drives projects, but we do it in bite-sized chunks. So if I just try to summarize all of that, this is our goal. We want to create an expert community of like-minded businesses that are teamed up with us, where we can share best practice. We can try and understand what that business needs, and we try and freely tailor content for your business and all other businesses, and share best practice, share tips and tricks, try and give you focus around what is appropriate for your business to move forward, to give you a business impact project in bite-sized chunks. That is our value proposition that we're trying to achieve in the Clean Growth UK program. So in summary, it's the call to arms now. Those are the next dates. I've even managed to, I think, finish sort of in time to allow some question and answers. So with no further ado, let me jump out of the presentation. Now, as I said, the presentation is videoed, so you'll get a link to it and you'll be able to replay it at your leisure. Let me jump out of my program. Let me come back to Stop sharing, bear with me. Sharing. We're back alive. Maybe let me hand you over to John now. John Matthias.
This is
Into that
environment forum thing a month or so back.
Yeah.
This is their sort of follow-up now. The next, rather than meeting, it's a remote, whatever you call it. Obviously, I can't join in as such. So, but give them I'd sign up to it anyway. Yeah. So it'll come through on this time.
Is that what's happening now?
Yeah, I'm on mute. Don't worry. As far as I know.
Yeah.
John, you're not on mute. So John, or maybe it was Ian, I don't know. So somebody wasn't on mute anyway. But with no further ado, John, can I invite you in to add a little bit from the Liverpool John Moore's point of view, and don't forget to unmute your microphone.
Thank you very much, Ian, and thanks Phil and Jonathan for hosting this event for us. Really grateful. Just very quickly, as Jonathan mentioned before, we'd be very grateful if you could join the Clean Growth UK network. It allows us to put on these funded programmes, and also, as you'll see from the Join Up page, there are lots of benefits that we'd like to share with you. Also, as we've done with this workshop, we can still work with businesses even in these extraordinary times, albeit on a virtual basis. And this includes support from our other programmes, like our recently extended Low Carbon Eco Innovatory project that's extended for another 3 years, and LCR 4.0 Start programme as well, recently launched. So any information you want on that, please contact myself, Leslie or Danny, or just go through Phil and he can pass the details on to us. I say the call to action from here, I think, as Ian's mentioned, really, that the next workshops will start early June as module 1, then module 2, moving towards the end of June. So hope you've enjoyed this event, and the idea is the outputs from the workshops will be aligned to our programmes, so they're all joined up and we're working together. So I look forward to working with you all, and thank you for joining us today.
Okay, so maybe just to finish, Phil, do you want to just finish the session?
We got any sort of question and answers? Any come off the side while we've been going along? Is there any updates as well from Daniel? Or does Daniel want to introduce himself?
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, yeah. So I'm Danny from the Eco Innovatory. I've just realised my camera's not on. So I'm Danny from the Eco Innovatory at John Moore's University, and we offer funded support to help SMEs in the Liverpool City region reduce their carbon footprint. So I've noticed a few familiar names pop up in the chat box and who've joined us today. So hello to the companies we've already worked with, and hello to all the new companies as well. So our remit at the Eco Innovatory is we have ERDF money, which we use to help businesses reduce their carbon footprint. So we engage you with our academic experts at the university, and we can look at any suite of projects that can help you reduce your carbon footprint. So we do look at process efficiency, helping you choose the best options for integrating renewables if that's what you want to do. But we also have a much wider support services, so we can do product testing, looking at minimum viable products. If you've got a new product you want to bring to market, so we can test and look at that as well. So it is a pretty open book, really. We've got access to the entirety of the resources in the university. So we think about everything that the university can do, from the business school to our engineers to our built environment staff. We can take a look at most projects, certainly. So if you're an SME in the Wirral, and you're interested in reducing your carbon footprint, then get in touch. I'll put my email address in the little chat box at the side here. And yeah, I look forward to hearing from you.
Thanks very much, Daniel. And Ian, even as an innovator myself and an engineer, it is really interesting and quite thought-provoking on how we can, as you say, whether it be reduce energy, reduce water. So it's definitely something myself and probably another member of my team will be getting on the next workshop. Phil, can we circulate the workshop dates? And Brian Lipscomb from Wirral Borough Council's also asked, is there any restrictions on who can take part? Is there a cost? Is it fully funded?
John, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, hi. Yes, these programmes are fully funded and open to any businesses that want to take part. Also, some of the LCR project are determined geographically, but they are ERDF funded and yeah, are free support.
Leslie, do you want to introduce yourself and then on some projects? Because I know it's quite, we're being innovators, we sort of look around for what grant funding's already available, and it's quite surprising sometimes how much grant funding or project funding is available, especially in our local area. So we've done projects with Leslie, LCR 4.0, we've done Innovate UK projects, we've done some European projects with Eurostars, and I've just added one that I found out about yesterday, which Sandra Kirkham had sent over, which was Centrica.com, Energy for Tomorrow. So there's quite a lot of funds out there already, and I think it'll be sometime next week or the week after, we're going to have the Future Fund, which is a COVID-19 funded project. So we'll get more detail on that. And that's for businesses who've received equity funding in the last, I think, 5 years. So if you've had over £250,000 invested in your business, which you've given away equity, then they will match fund any future equity raise. So go and have a look on the government website. And another one to have a look at, I don't know whether every business has applied for their bounce back loan. So we're with Barclays, so literally log on to your Barclays bank, you put in your turnover for projected turnover, and then cash is in the bank the next day. Some businesses are eligible. I've been told by Barclays that more will become eligible over the next couple of weeks. Have you got any other, Leslie, do you want to introduce yourself and any other projects or future funding that can be available?
Right, hello everyone. Some of you might know, but anyone I don't know, I'm Leslie Lambert and I work at John Moores University with Danny and the low carbon team and John and the clean growth team. And there's a number of projects that we work with as well. This is the LCR Activate project, Jonathan Clark. But I'm on the LCR 4.0 Start project, and that's a follow-on from a previous project, which was what Jonathan was talking about really, when we did do a lot more innovation work on that project. But the new one is around digital strategies and helping you implement those strategies, identify what sort of resources you need, and maybe doing some initial research using student projects and the academics to put a feasibility study together really to see how you can progress that further, and it could lead to larger scale projects like KTPs. And the Clean Growth team have got some bid writers or support writers to help businesses and academics to ensure that those project applications are quite strong and normally quite well received by the appraisers, because they know what they're talking about and put the right words in. Because a lot of the time businesses do get a bit bogged down with how much technical language is required for those applications, and you get put off. And we work with Made Smarter as well, so that's an absolute fabulous program if you can actually access some funding, which I think it's up to 50% to a maximum. I'm not sure what that is now, but I've worked with businesses on the Wirral and helped secure funding to purchase equipment to be more productive and fit in new digital strategies. So following on from these workshops, our team are here to help you implement some of the ideas that you'll sort of identify through the workshops. And I'm happy to join in on the workshops so I get a better understanding of what some of your challenges are and be able to help you. So I've already put my contact details in the chat. I'm sure Phil, if you get has got my details as well. So if anybody wants to contact me and have a chat with about anything, I'm happy to do so. Is that okay?
Thanks very much. Has anyone got any more questions for John or Ian?
Jonathan, just picking up on a question there. Someone's asked about numbers for workshops.
Yeah. How many people can go on the workshop, John?
Yeah, I think in previous ones we've had up to 2 to 3 people from one organisation. I think it'll depend on numbers. Would you say so, Ian? Really, because I think we want to keep it kind of manageable. In terms of the taster sessions, there's no restriction on numbers at all when we're running them. But yeah, what would you agree, Ian? 2 to 3 possibly as a maximum per company? Or? Yeah,
I would sort of say so. 2 to 3 is probably the max that you want to go for. What I would sort of say is if there's the interest, we can run multiple cohorts. And what we found in the past is that quite often we'll find that maybe an MD might come to the first session and then he'll sort of say, oh, I really need my maintenance manager to come on the second one. Is that okay? And of course it is. It's we're flexible with that. And then what we often find is that once we've had that first cohort, quite often we'll have one of the trainees or one of the process engineers come on the next cohort, and so it's actually a way of, if you like, cascading some innovation into a wider business. We find that's been quite successful.
And are they normally a physical presence, are they, rather than like the teams?
Yeah, to be honest with you, obviously we're evolving here. So in the main, all our experience comes from physical presence. We over the past 3 months have evolved into this new direction. And that's why we've focused on the expert community aspect as part of a core strategy, if you like. We're really getting to know these people. There's people on the last cohort up here in the Northwest, I've never met, but we sort of know each other now because we're sharing data and we're texting each other on the platform, and then we jump on a video call, and so we've really sort of tried to bring this collaboration thing together. So it's a good halfway house, I would say.
What probably I'd like to offer is we've just taken hold of from Borough Council. I think some people come on the last Energy and Environment Forum is the new Environmental Innovation Centre, which is at the back of Campbelldown Road. So if you'd like to use that for any Wirral residents, whether it be obviously free of charge. So we've got a conference room there and some workshop rooms. So by all means, any members, anyone wants to take part, they can use that. If and when required, just send me an email. Let me know when you're gonna go there. The same with yourself, Leslie, or Daniel, or any of the Liverpool John Moore's team. You can use that facility anytime you like. Phil, do you want to update any stuff going on with regards to the chamber?
Yeah, first and foremost, on behalf of myself and the chamber, massive thanks to Ian. John, Daniel, Tony, thank you for sorting today out. Hopefully everybody found the event useful. From a chamber point of view, just 2 things to mention. We've got an event coming up on the 20th around employment law, which will be well worth coming in and attending. It's going to be covering information such as furlough, redundancies, HR, all support for different types of businesses. And the last one really for me is just a big ask. Monday will be the start for the next quarterly economic survey that's going to be going out. Obviously, given all the challenges that businesses are facing over the last couple of months, this survey will be really important if we can get as many businesses to feedback the challenges that they're facing at the moment. It gives us greater voice moving forward to hopefully have a bit of an impact and direct some policy changes through from government. So please, I'll make sure I get that sent out. I'll send out as well the contact details and the registration for the next dates and the next courses.
Yeah, something else Paula mentioned yesterday, Phil. If any members are struggling with regards to membership fees, there will be something provided, whether it be spreading them costs over 6 or 10 months. So if anyone lets anyone know, because one thing we don't want is people struggling and members dropping off. The support's there, and the staff are there to support all the members. So just to firm that up. Is Sarah still on? When's the next construction forum?
Hi, yeah, so we're looking at, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. So we're looking at sort of first week in June. So we're just finalising the agenda for that. So it'll be similar format to this, sort of webinar based. But all businesses will be kept updated of the date, so we'll promote that accordingly once it's finalised.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Sarah.
It's okay, you're welcome.
Has anyone got anything else? Any more questions before we wrap up? No, all good. Well, listen, thanks very much, John. Thanks very much, Ian. Much appreciated. Thanks, Phil. Always do a cracking job.
Thanks, guys.
Everybody stay safe.
Okay, fantastic. So we'll wrap up now then, and I'll close the recording and then I'll make the link to the video stream available to everyone. Okay.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ian.
Thank you, Ian. Cheers.
All right. We'll say cheerio then. Bye bye now.
Bye.
Bye.